Hey friend, Graham here from recordingrevolution.com. Today I want to give you 3 ways you can mix better with the gear you already have. Instead of telling you to go buy something new, a plugin, a DAW, acoustic treatment, new monitors, a new computer, whatever anyone is telling you to buy, instead of telling you to do that, what I want to do is help you get better mixes without changing your gear. And these are things that if you do will instantly help you mix better. They don't take ramp up time. A lot of the technique, a lot of that kind of stuff takes time to get better at, but these are 3 things. If you do these 3 things, you will get a better mix without even trying. All right, you ready? Number 3, take breaks. Oh my goodness. Please don't underestimate this. You know what happens when you start mixing. Time flies. And you're like, oh my gosh, it's like been 2 hours. A, you don't know if you made the mix any better, but B, it doesn't matter if you think you've made the mix better or not, because 2 hours straight of mixing, heck, 1 hour straight of mixing is bad for you because of 2 reasons. One, your ears fatigue. Our ears are smart. They naturally compress to protect themselves. So if you're blasting sound at them, for any length of time, they're naturally going to start to compress. When they compress, it's literally like blocking your ears, like putting in earplugs. You no longer hear top end frequency the way you should. So it physically affects your hearing if you just mix for a long time. You need frequent breaks. At least every 45 minutes, take a break. So within an hour, you mix for 45 minutes and then you break for 10 to 15. Get out of the room, get a sandwich, get a coffee, whatever you need. But some people like to take breaks every 30 minutes, and that's not a bad idea because it allows your ears to reset and they won't fatigue. The second reason you need to take breaks is because of something called objectivity. You lose it the moment you mix for over 15 minutes. What do I mean? I mean, another problem with our ears, aka a blessing that becomes a problem if you're a mix engineer, is that our ears can ignore things. They can tune in and focus on things. It's a very powerful thing for us, but it's awful if you're trying to stay objective as a mix engineer. For example, you could be mixing your rock song and you could have your electric guitar and it could be harsh. And you might hear it as harsh initially, but as you start to balance things, your ear starts to tune out maybe that 2K or 3K bump. That's the harsh frequency because it is harsh and your ear doesn't like it. So it starts to ignore it. So you start to get used to that sound and you don't think it's as bad. Or the opposite is true. You start to boost a frequency or add some harmonic exciting or some kind of cool saturation that sounds good in low doses, but your ear gets used to that and you don't hear it as much anymore. You want to hear more. So you keep cranking it and cranking it and cranking it. And pretty soon you've overcooked your mix. You've killed it. We lose objectivity within 10 to 15 minutes of mixing. So the way to gain back that objectivity is to take frequent breaks. You come back in and instantly you hear your mix again. You're like, whoa, that's way out of whack. It's called the morning after effect. You know, you ever mix a song, it sounds great. You come back in the studio the next day, you're going to bounce it down, you're going to double check it. You pull up the session, and you're like, the heck is this? This isn't my mix. Who mixed this crappy mix? Not me. I would never, ever mix a song that crappy. Problem is, you did mix that crappy song last night, hours after you lost objectivity, and so you were making all kinds of bad decisions. But you come in the morning, it takes 30 seconds. You instantly know what's wrong with it. Why? Because your ears aren't compressed and you have objectivity. So take frequent breaks. It's simple, it's not flashy, but guess what? It makes you a better mixer. All right, the number 2 thing you can do to get better mixes with the gear you already have is to mix at low volumes, specifically at 2 low volumes. What am I talking about? Most of us mix too loud. Why? Because we want to feel good about ourselves. When you crank up your mix, what happens? It sounds awesomer. Everything louder seems to sound awesomer. At the very least, it's exciting. And yes, we want to churn out an exciting mix, but we don't want to fool ourselves into being excited. We want to stay, again, objective. We want to be hypercritical of our mix in the best way possible, and we want to make sure that that mix isn't false exciting, aka we just turned it up, but real exciting. What do I mean by false exciting? Well, when you crank up sound, when you just turn up the volume of something, your ears start to enhance the low end and the top end of the mix. So you hear stuff that's not really there. It seems like there's more low end. It seems like there's more top end. That's why it seems exciting, but it's not really there. It's just there at loud volumes. But what if someone's listening to your mix at a moderate volume? or they're listening to it in the kitchen on the little iHome stereo, or they're at the beach and it's playing out of their Bluetooth Bose speaker and it's really small and very quiet background music. Does it still sound exciting then? If it's dependent on you cranking it up, that's not a good mix. So what we want to do is always mix at a low volume. How low? I don't measure stuff because I'm not that technical, but I always say, turn your speakers, not the faders, your speakers, turn your speakers or your headphones down to a level that you can obviously mix the song, but at the same time, you can have a conversation with your buddy who's sitting next to you. If you got a friend over and the two of you are listening to the mix, you want to make sure that it's at a level low enough that you could turn to your friend, talk to him or her without having to raise your voice. That's conversational level. That's a good level to be mixing at. Will it be as exciting as cranking it up? No. That's a good thing because then it's your job to make it sound exciting at that volume. Now, as you're mixing, what I like to do to further enhance the mix is pull the fader way, way down, or pull my monitors way, way down, or hit a dim switch that drops it by 20 to 30 dB instantly, so that I now am referencing for a moment my mix at an ultra low level. When I do this, it tells me if my mix is gonna actually hold up, because what I'm listening for is kick drum level, snare drum level, and lead vocal level. If I can hear those three things, kick, snare, lead, vocal, at an ultra low level, then I know the mix is gonna hold up. You're gonna lose a lot of the oomph of your guitars or strings or synths. You might even lose some of the bottom of your bass when you turn it down. I get that. But if the kick and the snare and the vocal still cut through at ultra low levels, you know that the important parts of your mix are holding up. If they only sound good at a moderate to loud level and they disappear when you turn the volume down, there's something wrong. It's either an EQ problem, a compression problem, or a level problem. Make sure that those kick, snare, and vocals cut through at low levels. So you've got your standard low level, conversational level, and then your ultra low level that you switch to periodically. You mix at this level, not at this level, mix at this level, and then check on that ultra low level. All right, the number one thing you can do to get a better mix with the gear you already have is the most epic thing, the simplest thing, but plenty of us don't do it. I don't know why. Maybe it's ego. Maybe it's ignorance. That's okay. I'm telling you now, reference, 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 reference. What does that mean? It means pull in a professional mix of any artist you like, something that is a similar vibe, similar genre, similar instrumentation. What that track you're trying to mimic, that song that you're trying to mimic, like if you love A Perfect Circle and you think that that sound is the most epic sound and your song is kind of in the vein of A Perfect Circle, bring in a track from A Perfect Circle into your DAW and compare it to your mix. Now, two things. One, on a technical side of things, this mix that you're pulling in is going to be way louder than your mix because it's been mastered. So to make a fair comparison, if you pull it into an audio track, which is what I do, a stereo audio track, pull in the reference, name it whatever you want, pull the volume way down. Usually it's about 10 dB. You got to pull that volume down because that track is going to be way hotter than your track and it's going to make it sound better. Louder isn't better. We want a level match. So I pull the fader down of the reference and then flip back and forth and I keep tweaking that level until it feels like they're about the same volume when I go back and forth. You can measure it. You can look at a meter. That's fine too. But I go by feel because meters lie sometimes. Does it feel louder? No, it feels about the same volume. Okay, now that we've got it at the same volume, let's compare. One thing you're going to notice, and this is the second thing, is that the professional mix that you're referencing probably is better than your mix. Don't cry too much. Welcome to the club. This is probably why people don't like to reference because A, they think they know how to mix, and B, they don't want to get their spirit crushed. But if you want to turn out a good mix, you need to know what you're up against. When you mix in isolation, which is exactly what you're doing, if you're not referencing a professional mix, if you're just pulling up your track and you're mixing it and balancing it out, you're mixing in isolation. That, my friend, is arrogance. Whether you know it or not, it's completely arrogant to think that you know what a good mix should sound like, that you would never, even for 30 seconds, reference a professional mix. Why is that arrogant? Because none of us have that good of a long-term memory. You may know, like I know, okay, I love Soundgarden. I've listened to their records front to back for 20 plus years. I know those mixes, but you know what? I don't know those mixes. I think I know how much reverb is on the drums. I think I know the top end of Chris's vocal. I think I know the way the bass fits in the mix. I think I know how aggressive those guitars are, but my memory is always wrong. When I bring it in, compared to the track I'm working on, I'm always shocked at the level or the amount of aggression or the amount of overdrive or the effect settings, we have bad long-term memory. So we instantly are reminded, okay, that's actually how much reverb is on those drums. I thought it was drier than it was. It's actually really, really wet. Now, you don't have to copy them, but at least it tells you what you're shooting for if that's a song that you're shooting for. Also, it helps us in any mixing environment. If your room sounds awful, this will help you. If your speakers sound awful, this will help you. Why? Because you can't trust your room or your speakers, even if they sound good, because no one else is gonna listen to your mix in your room with your good speakers. So it doesn't matter how your mix sounds in your room as much as how does your mix sound compared to a professional mix and master that the world has signed off on and said, this sounds good. So when you bring in a reference, you instantly go, oh, that's how a good drum set should sound like in my room where I'm sitting on my speakers. That's the top end level that a really, really good rock track should have in my room, in my mix position, on my speakers. It tells you what to shoot for. So then you can compare your mix and go, whoa, my mix is way more top end than this mix. Is this mix wrong? Is the professional wrong and I'm right? No, the professional is generally right. Now, do you need to copy them exactly? No, there's a million ways to churn out a mix with a lot of different tonal frequencies and balances and representations, but it shows you what to shoot for, shows you if you're way off. So if you feel like the professional mix has way less top end than yours, you might want to bring the top end of yours down a bit. If it's got way more bottom end and you got zero bottom end compared to it, you thought the bottom end was good, but this has way more beef, you might want to bring yours up a bit. It just tells you if you're close enough to the ballpark. So what I listen for with reference tracks, low end, kick drum level, snare drum level, vocal level, top end. And then sometimes I try to listen for their effects. What kind of delays and reverbs do they have? That's more of like a subjective thing, but mostly it's the tonal issues and level issues to make sure that I'm not completely out of whack. I promise you, if you do this one thing, if you just bring in a professional mix every time you mix, level match them so they're not, one's not louder than the other, and then just sort of go through that checklist of low end to top end, kick, snare, vocal level, this will make your mix instantly better because you just don't have objectivity, you don't have perspective, you don't know what's good because our long-term memory is bad, your room is fooling you. This will help you avoid all of that and get a mix that's a much better representation. There you have it, 3 simple things you can do right now. You could start it this weekend on your next mix without changing your gear, and I promise you the result will be better than had you not done these things. Now, I wanna give you something that will help you out even more. Take those 3 things and then apply them to my 8-step mixing checklist. That's exactly what I put together is an 8-step mixing checklist of literally how I mix. So I get asked how I mix all the time. I've been developing a mix flow for the last 15, 20 years. And what I do is, even though every song is different and every song has got its own unique moments, I still have a plan of step by step by step of what I need to address to make sure that I systematically work through the mix and don't miss anything. And so I put all that together into a simple PDF that is gonna walk you through what my 8 steps are and then some tips and tricks along the way so that you have a map when you sit down to mix and you're gonna hopefully implement these 3 things. You can then follow the 8-step checklist and go boom, 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 boom to make sure you get a killer sounding mix with the gear you already have. So I wanna give this PDF to you. It's a simple checklist you can download. I recommend keep it on your phone or print it out, put it on your desk if you're old school like me, and then you always reference it when you're ready to sit down and mix. I want to give that to you, but I also want to give you something else. I want to give you some practice tracks, some multi-tracks to mix, so some stems of a killer track I've got for you that you can download and practice on. And then I also want to give you a sneak peek of my upcoming course. I got a brand new course called Mixing University. It's coming out next week, the 11th of October. This thing is going to be massive. I haven't done a new mixing course in 7 years. This course is more than just a course. It's going to be systematic, how to mix, foundational stuff, how to understand EQ and compression. We're gonna go way in depth on that. It's gonna be multiple mix walkthroughs where literally start to finish mixes, not breakdowns of what I've already done before the video, but literally I'm gonna mix in front of you over multiple genres, rock, pop, acoustic. There's gonna be more down the road. We're gonna launch with 3 walkthroughs, more genres coming, and then an entire module dedicated to tricks. Nothing but tricks, over 30 mix tricks that if you just wanna check out this trick and try this thing on the vocals and this thing on the drums, this thing on the bass, whatever. All these cool tricks that aren't always useful in every mix, but you find a way to use it somewhere. I've got a whole catalog of mix tricks that I've shot, shown you how to do them, and you can just go to the ones you want and implement those. It's an entire university program put together for you. It's launching next week, like I said, called Mixing University. And I want to give you a sneak peek of it, absolutely free. That's included when you get the mixing checklist. And you'll also be put on the early access list to find out about the course the moment it launches, so you get it before anybody else. So to get all those goodies, just go to the link below here in the description box, or go to mixingchecklist.com. Mixingchecklist.com. Get the PDF, get the multi-tracks, get the sneak peek, and get on the early access list for Mixing University, so you'll find out more about that when that launches on the 11th of October. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing to the videos. Happy mixing. I'll see you in another video real soon.